Thank you. Thank you for the drive safes.
All right, looks like I am live. Looks like we got some people in here. All right, looks like I am live. Looks like we got some people in here. All right, looks like I am live. Looks like we got some people in here. All right, looks like I am live. I'm streaming, buddy. Yeah, love you. Hey, everybody, can you hear me? Making sure that you all can hear me. Okay, good. Thank you, Lisa. Appreciate that. Thank you. Awesome. Well, I hope you all are having a great night still. It's about 10:43 my time over here in Chicago. So hope it is hope you guys are having a great night. Don't know where I know where some of you are located at. I don't know where all of you are located at. But hope y'all are having a great night. Or if you're overseas, maybe it might be the morning already. So hope you're having a great morning. Um, but thank you so much for joining. Thank you so much for obviously watching Brother John stream. Again, it was another great stream. Um, but yeah, it's very blessed, very humble for you guys to be here. Just figured we could talk about, some more tornado talk and have some talk about the talk about radar as well. It might be some regurgitated information that you might already know, but I figured it might be a something maybe to kind of look at radar and understand what radar is and how to kind of decipher that, especially for tornadoes and severe weather in that issue. So, but thank you very much. I see we have looks like we have about let's see we have Sonia's in here. Hi, Sonia. We have Lisa. Hi, Lisa. So we have Orville in here. David's in here. Hi, brother David. Debbie. Hi, Debbie. Good to see you. Let's see what else we have in here. Looks like we have Sabri's Grace is in here as well. She says, "Hey, John Boy, I am headed to bed, but wanted to stop in to like the stream and give my best hopes for you and all. Every one of you are in my prayers. Nighty night." Thank you so much. Saved by His grace. God bless you. Have a great night. And thank you so much for your prayers. That's very awesome. It's more than what we could ever ask for. So thank you so much. Definitely appreciate that. Thank you so much. But very good to see you guys. Very good to talk. I know it's a Saturday night, and I know you all are busy and everything else. So I appreciate you just taking the time to spend a little bit of time with me tonight. Appreciate that very, very much. And but yeah, so I just think that we have to just always give a huge shout out, like I said, always to Brother John for his support and for his just for his help, support, his graciousness, and so just very thankful for him to send you all over here. And but yeah, this is my second stream. Last night was my first. It went really well, and it's just very, very, very grateful for that. So thank you so much for that, for joining in. And so yes, thank you, Debbie, so much. Thank you so much. Thank you, Sonia, so much. Thank you very much. And like I said, I'm just getting started doing all this. So eventually, if any one of you, Lisa, Sonia, whomever else, if you guys would want to be moderators or something that you guys would want to take on and help me out with, that would be great. I mean, if not, I completely understand as well. But eventually that might be something that I would might need down the road. So I think that would be helpful. And plus, you guys all have experience, so that would be very great. So, but yeah, I would be happy to if you guys would be able to help me out in that. So, and then David, you are in Colorado. Nice, David. Where are you at in Colorado? Are you in uh, Denver area, or where are you at in Colorado, brother David? And I know Lisa's in Iowa. Sonia, I know, is in Washington, the state of Washington, if I'm correct. And I'm not sure where Debbie is located at from there, but yeah. So very good. Yes, thank you, thank you. Reading the chat here, thank you very much. Okay, David says he is south of Denver. Very cool. I've only been to Denver. I flew into the airport there one time, and I think it's around the Denver area, Pikes Peak, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong. I have to go back and look at that. But when I was a kid, we went up to Pikes Peak. So, but yeah. So yes, thank you, Sonia, very much. Thank you, Lisa, for offering your help. Thank you, David. Thank you. Just everybody for your support and everything else. So hopefully, like I said, hopefully everybody's doing having a great time, having a great night. Looks like today was one of those days, right? That was again more driven by what we seen last night. Even though they upped the tornado percentage today, looks like it still did not come to fruition, which is a great thing, obviously. But it's so I know storm chasers, in the storm chasing glory, obviously tornadoes are what sells, and tornadoes are what everybody wants to see, and but it's just weather. Weather is unpredictable, so like again, we have all of the best algorithms, and have all of the best physics and math and everything else, and it's just unpredictable. So but yeah, so I think today looked like it was more driven by wind and hail, and than anything than tornadoes. So but yeah, I think John obviously has duties tomorrow in the John be preaching tomorrow, and I would I don't know if you guys have watched Brother John's live streams before. Maybe you guys have. Please let me know in the comments if you have. And then but yeah, he's really great at giving his sermon and preaching and everything else. So that's just a big blessing there for brother John, and in that. So all right, Libby, looks like we got Libby in here. We can all say hi to Libby, please. It looks like we got Shane in here. Thank you, Shane, for joining. Looks like we got here. Let me see here. Looks like we got awesome. Thank you guys so much. So, just so I can get kind of a poll in the comments is how many of you feel like you can read Radar really well, like you feel really good about reading it, and how many of you feel like you could use some teaching and use some coaching on that? Because everybody comes with different skill sets and things of that nature. So, but yeah, so I'd like to know, just kind of like how you feel reading Radar, how you feel about that. So awesome, Lisa. Thank you so much. Awesome. So have you awesome. Thank you, Shane. That's yes. Looks like we got Betty in here. Thank you, Betty. Betty says could use some coaching as well. So if we can all say hi to Betty here as well. So thank you, Betty, for joining. David's very new to reading Radar. Okay. Definitely help you with that, David. Nice. Very nice. And Sonia says, I could learn more on Radar, yet have actually surprised myself when there's a tornado on the ground. Okay. Awesome. Just catching up here real quick. Okay. Good. So, let me break it down like this for Radar. So, if we get into it here, so Radar is about an 80-year-old. Let's see, this is 2026. It goes back 40s into the 1940s. I believe it was in the mid 1940s, and thank you, Libby. I think I have learned a lot, but I'm always learning and looking to learn more. Awesome. Thank you so much. But yeah, so Radar goes back to the mid 1940s, right around that time. So it's at the time was like winning the jackpot, right? Like winning the lottery, because there was nothing else really before that. And so from the 40s, and then the Radar that we know now, they're called WSRs, which is called weather surveillance radars. So if you see like WSR-88, the WSR will always be weather surveillance radar, and then the dash after it will be the year that it's implemented. So right now we use in the United States what's called WSR-88. Which is the year it was implemented in 1988. So then that might get you thinking, wow, so the radar sites that we use currently are, almost 40 years old? Yeah, that's what we do. So, yes, so 88, yes, so 1988 is as new as that was when the technology and everything got put into place. So then they really didn't get up and running until about 4 or 5, maybe to 7 years later. So that's when places started getting when the what's called our WFOs, which are called weather forecasting offices. That's when they started getting the radars, and then so over time, so we went from WSR 57 to WSR 74, so that's a 17-year increment. From 74, we went to WSR 88, and from there, we haven't implemented anything since from 88. Now, what we have done is we have updated all the WSR 88s, all the Doppler radars. we've updated them and everything, and through dual polarization. So dual polarization means that the beam goes east to west towards the target, but it also goes vertical north to south towards the target. So it can scan horizontal and it can scan vertically. So that's where we're at with the WSR 88s. So again, we improve the radar, keep improving the radar and things of that nature, just through adding through software and things of that. Now, Pipeline Dream and things that they are currently working on, and there's a few sites that have them, their test piloting sites. It's called Phase Array Radar. So PAR, P-A-R. So right now, when you and I see an image of radar, the radar is never live. And I don't like when they say live radar and check out our live radar. Live is really a misleading term, because radar is never live. It's always in the past, because it takes roughly about 5 minutes for the radar site to do a complete scan. So when it does a complete scan, because it goes in a radius of about 200 and each site probably can do about 230 miles radius. So when you do that, you'll never have a live image. You're always seeing an image from behind. So when you see an image like on the radar that you see, that storm has actually moved off in the direction that it's going, not in that image where you're seeing it at. So don't be fooled by when it says live radar and when you look at that, because it's never live. We can get real-time data and things of that nature. So we can get real-time data and everything like that, but we're always behind. It's always behind because it has to send out the signal, it has to transmit it and receive it back. Then it has to go through and go through all the algorithms and everything else, and for the image, it's got to process that. It has to go through the processor, and then so that's the image that we see, and it does a sweep, which is called a sweep because it goes in a circle, it goes in the radius. So it's constantly in a circle and it doesn't stop. It just doesn't stop on one spot. It's constantly in motion, constantly going in a circle. So with that, so when you see that image on radar, you're looking at it. You're looking at an image in the past. It's just like I don't know if you're aware of the sun. So because of the way that light travels and the speed of light, and the way that the sun is about 93 miles away from where we're at, we actually see the sun for as it was, not as it is. Because so it takes roughly the sun about 8 minutes, about for the light of the sun to reach us, about a little over 8 minutes. So that means when you look up at the sun is actually 8 minutes moved off to where you're actually seeing it. So you're never seeing the sun live either. You're seeing the sun as it was, not as it is. It's the same concept with radar. But to get into that, so it's never live. So that's why I always teach people is just when you hear live, is it's not live radar. It's not. It's minutes old. So, but to get from that, so it takes time for that. It takes time for the radar site the Doppler radar site to. Because that's what it's based off. It's based off the Doppler effect, right? It sends out a signal, it hits whatever, and when it sends out the radio waves, the radiation sends out the radiation waves at the speed of light. It hits an object, whether that's rain, snow, hail, whatever. It hits an object, it bounces back, and it receives that back, and then it deciphers how big the reflectivity is. So that's why, and I'll get into that too, about how we get into DBZ and things of that nature. So once it hits that whatever is there, so whatever, like I said, whether it's rain, hail, snow, birds, radar picks up birds all the time. Flocks of birds, they're always on radar. And then, so when the radar goes out, the further it goes out, the higher it goes because of the curve of the Earth. So with the curve of the Earth, and yes, the Earth is round. We'll save the whole flat Earth stuff for some other time. But because of the curvature of the Earth, so the radar, when the radar goes out, the beam it goes higher and higher the longer that it goes out. So basically, the radar beams, when they go out, they don't really. But the lowest they get is about 3,000, 4,000 feet. So you think about that. The radar is never looking at really anything below 3,000 or 4,000 feet. And as we know, there's a lot of weather that happens underneath 3,000, 4,000 feet. And so, again, that's why we need storm chasers for. That's why we need people on the ground. That's why we need boots on the ground. We need people to relay in, tornadoes. We need people to relay in severe weather, because there are things that the radars just cannot see. It's just not possible for them to see them the way that our technology has it set up. So the way that it's set up so when the beam goes out, it gets longer, it gets stretched, right? So as it goes out, it gets like a rubber band, and it gets stretched out. And the beams that we're currently using go about 230 miles, like I said, in a radius. And we have about 160 WSRs, 88s placed strategically across the United States, and that's Hawaii, Alaska, and Puerto Rico has one as well. And then also see there. So let me check chat real quick. Oh, David, thank you for joining, brother. Thank you so much, buddy. I appreciate it, David. Have a great night, brother. God bless you. Thank you so much. But to get back on that, hold on, sorry, give me 1 second. Shane says, this all makes sense. It's funny that I never really thought about it. Glad Papa John sent this over to you, John Boy. Awesome. Thank you, Shane. Yes, thank you so much, brother. So like I said, when the radar beam goes out and it gets stretched out, and the curvature of the Earth, it can only see, so far away. And things, there are things that get in the way of the radar. I mean, there's buildings, so it doesn't do good with buildings in a way. It doesn't do good with if trees are in the way. It doesn't do good with certain things that are blocking it. And so within about 25 miles out of a radius, within about 25 miles of the radius, there's always a thing that's called ground clutter. So if you ever look at, if you pull up, if you have WeatherWise or Radar Omega, Weatherfront, there's 1,000 different apps, and you can choose from, you can pick a site, you can pick a radar site. If you pick that radar site, and if you zoom in pretty close to the radar, and you get about, you'll start seeing, especially like on the correlation coefficient and things of that nature, you will see a lot of ground clutter. So you have to decipher the ground clutter, and that'd be for a different topic. That's a little. I just want to keep it kind of high level right now, but that is. So you deal with the ground clutter. So you have to decipher between that and get that out of the way. So you're looking at that, right? So you look at the radar, and the radar that we see when we look at storms is that we're looking at what's called reflectivity. So the reflectivity is what we're seeing with the rain. So, and hi K-Jack, good to see you. Awesome, thank you so much for being here, K-Jack. I really appreciate that. Thank you so much. Thank you for your support. But yeah, so when you're and another thing is too, which it's called so if a storm gets real close to that radar site, so say I'm out of Chicago, so if a storm comes real close to the radar site in Chicago, which is called it's out of Joliet, which is to the southwest here of Chicago, it's called KLOT or KLOT, as it's called. But if a storm comes real close to that or crosses over that radar site, it's really hard to. Radar sites don't do good when storms are that close to them because they have um, what's called a cone of silence, because it can't detect a lot when stuff's right overhead. So then you'd be better off switching to either a terminal radar, which I'll get into in a second as well, or switching over to a different radar that's closest to KLOT to kind of see the makeup of that storm. So, but yeah, so those are WSR 88s. That's what you see. That's what we use. They're the big white balls that sit on top of towers and stands and everything else. And then we have around about 45, 50 of the airports in the United States. We have what are called terminal weather radar sites. So, and you'll see them on like WeatherWise, and you'll see on Radar Mega and all. You can choose these, and these will start with a T. So like around me, there's TMW, or I'm sorry, TMDW, which is for Midway. There's there's TORD, which is for O'Hare Airport as well. So you can actually you can actually look at those. You can actually look at those terminal radar sites too as well, if storms get close to those radar sites as well. And there's some back and forth. There's there's obviously pros and cons to them as well, but those radar sites are used from the FAA. That's what they use a lot of for their obviously for the airports and for the airlines and for the pilots, and things of that nature. So, but yeah, so there's the big WSR 88s, and then we also have the terminal radar sites as well. So, and then you would think, well, it's 2026. We got all the technology in the world. We got, the money and everything else, but there are radar holes. There are places that actually are labeled radar holes, and so there's some places out west. There's a few places out Utah-ish, Colorado area. There's actually North Carolina. Actually, Charlotte is almost in a radar hole just from where the radar site sits. So when you're into a radar hole, it's hard, obviously, right, for the radar, because the further you're away from the radar, the harder it is to see the storm structure and to see what the storm looks like. So So hopefully with these new that I'm gonna circle back to what you call the PAR radars, which is the phase array radars, which are that's going to be a long time down the line if they get implemented. There's already a pilot that's going on with it. But those, instead of it taking about 5 to 6 minutes for us to get a full image and a full scan, those are going to be about 30 to 60 seconds. So that's almost about as live and almost about as real time as you can get. So that is the trajectory that's heading. And so hopefully we can get there through all the, and implemented that in all the current sites that have the radars that it is now, or maybe some new sites might pop up as well when it comes to that. So, and Sonia says, there is a radar hole here in Washington State as well. Yes. And yes, Lisa says, may save lives with the faster scans. Absolutely. Because you think about it now, we get about, according to the NWS, we get about a 15-minute lead time for tornado warnings. But what if you could double that to 30 minutes or 40 minutes or whatever it may be, right? So definitely, I agree, Lisa, definitely save a lot more lives, be able to be proactive, you'd be able to react quicker, be able to just, take shelter quicker to that. And so hopefully we could, and hopefully with that, we'll have to dig into it a little bit further too. I don't know the span of it, but hopefully maybe that its radius will be longer than 230 or 200, about 230 miles as well. So So yeah, so that's radar, like kind of like an overview nutshell of how old the technology is. We just keep updating it. If you have ever seen inside one, I've watched many videos. If you ever seen inside one, it's a big ball, and it has an antenna that just goes in a circle, goes in a circle, goes in a circle, and just goes in a circle all the time. And that's the way that it does. So it just keeps spinning and spinning and spinning and spinning. And but thankfully we have what we have right now. Because it's the best of what we have, and thankfully, if it wasn't for even this 40-year-old technology, or even going back to, we'll call it 80-year-old technology, I mean, this is the best that we have right now, and this is the best that we use. And so thankfully that it's there to help save lives, to help put out watches, to help put out warnings, um, help us see the atmosphere the best that we can see it. And so I'm very very thankful for that, and hopefully we'll get those par radars, hopefully maybe way down the line, but that'd be awesome. So but as well, so that's radar overview nutshell. And then so I'm gonna take you into like a few pictures here in a few minutes, just to kind of show you like the structure of a storm, and how it's based. Because like I said before, every storm, I mentioned last night, every storm starts out as a blip, and you'll hear it all the time on Max Velocity and on Ryan Hall and everything else. You will hear, gotta watch out for those blips. Gotta be those blips, and that's true. You do. So, but to get back to the point, the fact that radar is in the past is, so if you ever feel rain on you one time, or it's rain outside, and you look on your radar app and you don't see any reflectivity on the radar, that's because the radar hasn't picked it up yet. So that's a pretty cool thing. But yeah, I find that kind of fascinating. So, but that's cool. And then, so yeah, I'll talk a little bit about like hook echoes, which I'm sure maybe from watching, obviously Brother John, and watching Storm Chasers, and maybe learning about stuff like that as well. You might be familiar with what a hook echo is, and RFD, and what that means, and how to look at that on the radar, and how to see that, DBZ as well, things of that nature. So, and it just, but again, reflectivity, that's what we see, that's what we utilize to see this, and that's the color coding you see. Like if it's raining really hard, you'll see yellows and reds, and sometimes purples and blacks, which means it's basically hailing and everything else. So that's reflectivity. It gets darker as the precipitation gets heavier and gets more gets bigger. So that's what reflectivity shows us through that. So it's so I think it's pretty cool about that. So anybody have any questions about the WSR-88s? Like any cool, have you guys ever seen some of the Dopplers out there? Have you ever visited a weather forecasting office and got to tour one or anything? That'd be kind of cool. So let me know if you have any questions here real quick, and then I will jump into and showing you some radar and on how to decipher that. So, but I'm really interested to see if you guys have ever seen one or visited one, because I believe they do offer visits at certain places, so that would be kind of cool. But yeah, please let me know if you have anything, if you have ever seen any, and if you have, that's awesome. So Lisa says, I've only driven by them. Okay, awesome. And they're pretty cool. Like when you see them from a distance from the road, it's like just a big white ball sitting there, but it's there helping you and protecting you. So it's really a cool thing to see that. So Libby says, only seen them from a distance. Awesome. I haven't seen. Sonia says I haven't seen the nearest one to me yet. Okay, very good, very good. Yeah, just yeah, I know. Yeah, it's they are pretty cool, you know, and because they're there obviously serving a purpose and helping us and stay safe the best that we can and so that's awesome. Um, when they what they're doing. So and then make sure I didn't miss anything here. Awesome. Oh, K Jack says the cone of silence makes me think of Get Smart. Awesome. Awesome. I think I saw that movie. If that's the same one, I think there was like I think it was Steve Carell or something. I could be wrong, but somebody chime in and let me know if I'm correct or wrong on that. So, but yeah. So on radar, we'll be able to see things what are called TVS, which is a tornado vortex signature. And then we'll also be able to see what's called TDS, which is a tornado debris signature. And so if you're familiar with that, tornado debris signature, that's mainly most seen on the correlation coefficient, which I'll show you here in a few minutes. So it's looking at, so especially when you have a hook echo on reflectivity, and you switch over to correlation coefficient, and you get a drop. It's called a CC drop, right? Correlation coefficient drop, and I'll show you how that's read out. And so once you see that, and you got it's usually a lot of blues around. We'll call it reds, right? A lot of blues are on red. So when you have the blues inside of that red, you'll say that's the debris ball right there. So you can kind of track. So the radar's picking up the debris that's in the air, which is never a good sign. So when you have a TDS on radar, that's usually a strong tornado that's doing some damage. And it's able to, and the radar, instead of picking up rain, or it's still picking up rain and everything else, but it's picking up, it is saying, hey, we got 2x4s we're picking up now. We got roofs that we're picking up now. And because it's, so that's what the correlation coefficient is, which I'm sure maybe a lot of you have already maybe learned about or seen with the help of Brother John and maybe some other forecasters and stuff as well as that. So so that's what a TDS, and then we get a TVS, which is a tornado vortex signature, which we get a lot. We get that from the so you might hear the thing gate to gate shear. But from that, there's a common term that's used throughout storm chasing, which is velocity couplet. So that is on velocity, and that is where the red which is coming towards the radar site, and the greens which are going away from the radar site. It's where they meet up at, and you have a gate to gate shear there, one negative, one positive, and that's where you get the velocity couplet at. So. Which I can show, I can show that as well too. So if you ever heard of terms like TVS and TDS, they're two different things. Again, one's tornado vortex signature, and the other one is tornado debris signature that we get from that. So there's quite a few ways to see a tornado on the radar. One again being velocity with the TVS, and one on correlation coefficient with the TDS. But that's if the tornado is doing so much damage that the correlation coefficient is dropping and is picking it up. So a lot of the forecasters and storm chasers and everything else, they like to use velocity to really confirm that tornado on radar. Because a lot of times tornadoes are rain wrapped, or it's nighttime, or whatever it is, and if it's rain wrapped, you obviously can't get a visual on it, so you can't visually confirm it. So the next best thing you have is velocity to confirm it, and as well, and as long and reflectivity too. That's where the hook echo comes in at, and through that. So let me check chat here real quick, and then I'll show you some pictures here to give you more of a kind of a show and tell visualization. So that'll help you get a visual on that. So when you see that on radar, you'll be able to go, oh, okay, there's where the hook echo is. That's where the RFD is wrapping around behind it, and then sucking it in through the inflow notch and everything else. So that's where we get a tight rotation, get the get the mesocyclone going. That's where the updraft's at, and that's why we see the hook echo there. And so the RFD, that's why we see the hook echo. The hook echo is there because we're seeing the wind wrapping around, the rain wrapping around, and it might be debris too, or hail being wrapped around. Around the southwest side of the storm, and it creates that little pendant or pendulant. It creates that little hook echo that we see, and that's all due to that. So, Brother John says, "I love the cone of silence. Awesome. Glad to see you in here, Brother John. Thank you so much for such a great stream. Again, thank you so much for your support, your kindness, your graciousness. Very grateful. Very, very grateful for you, brother. Thank you so much for that. Just so gracious for that. But yeah, so I'm assuming that, from reading the radar apps and being able to, like I said, there's so many apps out there, right? Radar Mega is a great app. I don't have anything bad to say about WeatherWise. WeatherWise is a great app as well. Weatherfront, I've never done. I haven't tried Weatherfront yet, so I don't have anything to. I don't have any opinion of that right now. There's Radar Scope. I don't have much dealings with Radar Scope, so I can't really speak on Radar Scope as well. You got Weather Underground, you got AccuWeather, you got the Weather Channel app, you got I don't know. There's so many different apps out there. It seems like they're coming out every week or something with a new app. So, at least in my opinion, maybe maybe that's a little overboard. But with that, so any questions before I move on to show you some pictures here and show you how to read that. And then if there's not any questions, we'll move on to that. So I'll give you a minute here to do that. So Shane says yes. What you got, Brother Shane? Go ahead. I haven't tried. Libby says Weatherfront has some fun features you may enjoy it. The reason I have not messed around with Weatherfront yet, because the last time I checked, I have Android. The last time I checked, Weatherfront isn't on Android yet. I know it's on Apple, but please correct me if I'm wrong, because then I will take a look into it, because I like using multiple different sources and apps and everything. So, but as far as I know, Weatherfront's not on Android currently. But if and when it does come to Android, I will look into that definitely. So thank you very much, Libby, for that. Shane says, how can it be determined when rain or snow will end? Well, it's a great question. So looking at the when you put the radar in motion, right? So as in the storm will last 30 minutes. Okay. Okay, so Lisa says the desktop version is out. Okay. I did not know that either. I was not aware of that either. And Shane says, as in the storm will last for 30 or 45 minutes. So we're looking at the speed, the forward speed. So on radar can actually look at the speed and tell you how fast the storm is moving, and that is through trajectory. So you look at where the storm, and that's by calculating feet per second, right? How fast is it moving feet per second? Well, when you go by feet per second, you can figure out how fast it's going per mile. So then you can calculate, okay, it went from this certain spot currently, and now it's already in the next scan, it's at this spot. Okay, well, from spot A to spot B, that was 2 miles, and it got there in a minute, or it got there in 20 seconds. So that's how it's calculated how fast it's moving and how fast it's going to get out of the area. So again, it's deciphering time and distance. So when you have time and distance, you can factor in speed, and but without those, you're not going to be able to figure out speed. So hopefully that answered answer it in that way. So once it figures that out, it'll put it on a trajectory and say it's moving south southeast, it's moving north northeast, it's moving east at 45 miles an hour, and that's how it's calculated through the algorithms and through the physics and mathematics. So hopefully that was a good explanation there for you. So, but again, yeah, it's time and distance, and then you can get the speed. So from that, so sometimes when storms are being pushed in, like a cold front comes through, some storms will be pushed through at highway speeds, 50 miles an hour, 55 miles an hour. That's because they got a strong jet stream behind them pushing them. Just and a lot of, and brother John can testify to it way better than, and talk about it way better than when I can. But when you get behind one of those storms, you're not going to catch up to it. You just won't, because they're moving at 55, 60 miles an hour unimpeded. They're moving at, there's nothing blocking them. That's straight as a crow flies. And, obviously in a car, we got stoplights, we got turns, we got, everything else we could possibly think of. So once you get behind one of those storms, you're basically never going to catch up to it. So those are one of those storms that you got to be out in front of the best that you can and be on the safe, on the safe spot, on the safe side of that. So when it comes to that. So with that, again, okay, thank you, Shane. Shane says, yes, thank you, very cool. Yes, so, but yeah, so radar, radar is actually, it's fun. It's fun to use. It's fun to look at. It's fun to at least for me it is. I enjoy it. I consider myself a radar buff, a radar enthusiast, but I'm constantly learning myself too. And there's great sites too, like Pivotal Weather is a great site to look at radar, to learn more about radar too. The NWS, you can learn a lot about radar itself too as well. But if there isn't any more questions, I'd like to get into showing you some pictures here in which I have here pulled up here. So let me pull those up here shortly, and then we will get into that. So let's look at it here real quick. Where did it go at here? But yeah, so when we look at that, let me pull up that picture here. So I'm on. Apologize. Okay. So let me pull this out here. Let me pull it out here on a different screen here. So there it is, right there. Let me kick it over here. Pull it out here real quick. Okay, there we go. All right. All right, there we go. Should be good now. Sorry about that. Then, all right, that. All right, there we go. All right. And then let me see. So, all right, so here we go. Okay, good. So if we look at the reflectivity image here, right? So on this one on the left side, let me blow it up here a little bit. Okay, good. Thumbs up. But yeah, so left side, looking at the radar, looking at the, so that's a reflectivity image from Duratio, 100-mile-an-hour winds. That's the ones that came across Iowa. That came across Lisa's area about 6 years ago, coming up on. So that's how nasty that thing looked. So as you can see from the reflectivity, we got this nasty bowing out line, right? So what's happening there is the winds are driving that line forward, and that's how you can see like the little, it makes like a little S. The winds are so fierce it's driving that line forward, and they have nowhere else to go but disperse out in front. So when they do that, that's where you get all those straight line damaging winds. And so when you see something like this coming across, you see something like that. That's very you're gonna see a very nasty looking shelf cloud, and you're gonna get a lot of wind with that. So, but again, we got the reds in there, we got the yellows in there. But when it comes to looking at that, you can see just off of that reflectivity that yeah, we got some nasty downpours. Usually, there's not usually any hail. Usually, a lot of times with those types of storms, with those types of derecho type things, there can be, but not a lot. And there can also be some spin up tornadoes. So, and how we would see that is, if I can blow it up a little bit more here. Let me see if that's better for you guys here. Thumbs up me if it is, please. So what I would be looking at as for the radar, I'd be looking at their little notches, and they're little like round notches in that type of thing. Thank you, Shane, for the little notches that stick out of the. They're not. It's not a very fine line. There's little divots, little notches in there, and when you get those little notches in there, you can get those. That's almost like an indication of a little spin up tornado that's in there. So it's getting wrapped around. That's in there. So you can see a lot. So if you look at the radar and you look at like a Bow Echo, or you look at a a QLCS, all the fancy names that are out there and everything else. But so a lot of times if you get them and you see little notches that are in there, that's the spots to pay attention to where a brief spin up tornado can happen. And so that's a lot for like the QLCS on how to look at that and how to kind of see for the Bow Echo, for the derecho, things that come alongside of that. So I would be looking at kind of the inflow here where it's taking in a lot, and then I would be looking at the notches, that if there's some notches present in that. That's what I would be looking at, coming from that. Now, if we move to the right side, which is this is an evident. So this is over Oklahoma City in 2023, and as we can see here, we have just a classic supercell. And if you're not familiar with a supercell storm is, a supercell storm is just a rotating storm. That's why it's called a supercell, because there's rotation to it. If there's no rotation, then it's not a supercell. So if we start up here around, so we have what's called the forward flank, right? So this is called, it's usually called FFK, or I'm sorry, FFD, forward flank downdraft. This is going to be up here. In this section, like around Norman right here, we got Noble in here. That's your forward flank. So that's moving forward. So that's where you're gonna get like your heaviest hail. You're gonna get your heaviest rains at a lot. So this is basically what you would call when you hear a storm chaser say I'm core punching, and I'm doing that. They're punching through the core of the storm. They're punching through the hail core. That's usually what they're doing. So. That's all going to be up in this section, up in this area here. So that's really the most, and again, Brother John can really be, obviously get more in depth and more into that, because he's done some core punching or whatnot. And sometimes you'll see a lot of chasers do core punch, even when they don't have the vehicle to core punch, because basically you're going to be in blinding rain, you're going to be in possibly blinding hail, you're going to be in maybe 3 to 4 inch hail, So at a certain point, your windshield's going to go. Your side mirrors might go off. Your back windshield might go out. So it's very dangerous to hail punch or to core punch, especially if you got any kind of hail. It's very dangerous, obviously, but especially when you got baseballs and softballs dropping down on top of you. So if I'm looking at this radar right here, I see this classic. I see this classic makeup, classic setup. And then when you get around see this Newcastle area here, and you come back down around Blanchard here into Dibble, and you wrap back up. So your RFD, this is your rear flank downdraft. This is your RFD, and you'll hear storm chasers talk about this every stream basically. Oh, I got to get out of here before the RFD comes, because you will get some strong winds from the RFD, which a lot of storm chasers will be positioned about right here. On this side of the storm where my mouse cursor is at. Some will be up here in this notch area, which is a dangerous spot to be in, but that's where a lot of the great photos come from. That's where a lot of the action takes place at. So because right here, it's sucking in all of it. This is where it's what we call taking a breath. It's taking a breath, and it's sucking in all this air around it, and it's getting wrapped around. So in that, so Shane says, what determines how wide or narrow a tornado can form as or let me see if I decipher that correctly, Shane. What determines how wide what determines how wide or narrow a tornado can form or mature as a that is still unknown, and you can find that right on the NWS website. So, and that is because one, we don't know how tornadoes form, and two, we don't know how big they're going to form. So there's never really you don't know if it's going to drop a hog or if it's going to drop a little 30-second pencil. So. There's there is science and some data and stuff that kind of support, maybe the wind shear, if there's a certain amount of wind shear, if there's a certain amount of what the SRH values are, and there's what the Cape values are, so there's certain things where they but at the end of the day, there is nothing that's concrete that says that this storm right here was either going to produce an F0 or an F5. There's this, or an EF0 or an EF5. There's just nothing. There's nothing that to go off of with that. So the determining factor, there's just really, there really is no determining factor. I mean, it's like 100% proof, like foolproof. There is no 100% foolproof. So hopefully that makes the best sense that it can make right now on that. So that's why when they say take tornado warnings seriously, take them seriously. Now the storm, the NWS likes to put out, yes, absolutely, Libby. Only the Lord knows for sure. Correct. Now there are certain parameters so the storm NWS has certain parameters that we as the public don't have. We don't have access to. They have computers, and they have information, they have software, they have programs that you and I cannot get our hands on. So they'll put out in their mesoscale discussions what they think is going to be like, the max tornado that can come down, which comes along with the new rating of you'll hear it's called SIG 1, SIG 2, or SIG 3. So there are certain parameters sometimes where they'll say, we think today the max is going to be an EF3 because of the wind shear, because of the Cape values, and some other parameters, water vapor, things of that nature. So, but at the end of the day, it's not 100%. There have been days when when they thought it was just going to be a slight risk, and and that just happened last week. They had a slight risk out for southern Indiana and southern Illinois, and there were a bunch of stronger tornadoes that touched down than what they thought was going to be, touching down. So at the end of the day, when they say tornado warning, whether it's radar indicated, whether it's confirmed or observed or whatever it is, just take it seriously, because because you don't know what's going to plant. You don't know how it's going to grow, if it's going to grow. Uh, you just don't know because we can't predict the elements. We can't predict that. So I would take it seriously, just knowing that you don't know what's coming down and what's planting. So, but again, in the NWS has again more tools and stuff that you and I can get our hands on and stuff. So they will say that in the mesoscale discussions, which if you're not familiar with those mesoscale discussions, come out and they'll be on the map on the on the storm maps and everything else, the warning and watches maps, and they'll be talking about a certain area, and then so the mesoscale discussions come out, and then that's when they either issue the watches or not. So and then but from that they'll say, well, we think the max is going to be in up to potentially EF3s today. We think there's potential up to EF4s today and things of that nature. But again, it's not 100%. It's not 100% fact or 100% proven. So. So just stay safe with that. Just know that you don't know what's touching them. But like this. So to get back into the radar part, great question, Shane. Awesome. So if you get to, again, the RFD is wrapping down, right? It's coming down the backside of it. That's why it's called the rear flank downdraft. It comes across, circles around, and you're welcome, brother Shane. You're welcome, brother. And so it comes around and it wraps around right here. So this is where the meso is going to be at, right? And I'm sure you've heard through the live streams and everything out, right? The mesocyclone, which is the updraft. Strongest part of the storm. It's the updraft of the storm, spinning right here. So it's getting all this air. It's sucking in all this air, and it's spinning. And then it's either thinking about dropping the tornado, or it's not going to drop it. So how many times have we watched storm chasers and be like, oh, it's doing something. It's thinking about doing something. It's going to do it. And then they'll say that for the next 2 hours. But nothing ever drops because the conditions just weren't right. But it'll still show up like this on radar. So if you see a hook echo here, doesn't always mean that there's a tornado. It just means it has a strong mesocyclone, but it doesn't mean it has a tornado. So that's why when I was talking about either visually being able to see it or looking at TVS tornado vortex signature. But this right here is definitely a strong mesocyclone, and this one actually did produce tornadoes there. So, but again, this is your strongest part of the storm. This is where tornado happens. So this is the forward flank is moving forward. Just like it's called, the forward flank. So it's moving. It's hitting all these cities in front of it. So not only are you getting hit by hail and damaging winds and everything else before the tornado even comes. So if this tornado is going straight through Noble right here, Noble is getting the brunt of the forward flank, and then it's going to freaking take a smack dab right on the freaking chin from the tornado. So it's getting double whammied. So that's not good. But yeah, so that's good. So those are the main. So from reflectivity, what this is showing, that is showing a classic supercell, classic meso, classic RFD. But again, we don't know just from reflectivity if the tornado was down or not. That's why we have to go over to velocity, or somebody visually sees the tornado and whatnot. So reflectivity is a good tool for that, to see the hook and everything else, but velocity is what we really need to see in order to look at if there's a couplet, and then correlation coefficient if there's a CC drop as well. So for just from reflectivity, you can't tell that it's an actual tornado on the ground, if that makes sense. So thumbs up if you all are enjoying, still liking. Appreciate that. Thank you for the 14 likes so far. I really do appreciate that. Looks like we got 22 of you in here right now. That's very awesome. Thank you so much. So hopefully I'm not boring you too much. Hopefully this isn't something that, hopefully you take a little bit of learning from this, and what that does. So, but again, when someone says supercell, it's just a spinning storm. It's a rotating storm, so it has to have rotation for that to be a supercell. And around here, Chicago, we don't get a lot of supercells every year. I mean, we get a few. But well, this year it's been different. So this year is we for some reason I've been seeing like we've become Oklahoma, and Kansas right now. So, but yeah, so but when you see something like this on radar, definitely I'd be weather aware. I don't know if concerned is the right word. Uh, um, So I think concerned is okay, right? To be concerned is okay, but what I don't want people to be is scared or be, oh man, if you see this hook on, then people start freaking out, start panicking, and it's like, um, so just be if you do see something like this, just know, okay, there is a possibility that could be a tornado. I do see the hook echo. I do see that it's wrapped up in here because this is where the tornado always happens. At is this little spot right here. So that's where it's forming at, and that's where it's going to drop down if it drops down. So it's not going to drop down in the forward flank. It's not going to drop down somewhere way up here. It's going to drop down right here. And so reflectivity is a good way to see that hook. That's what gives us that visual of the hook, and that's why you always say, "Oh, I see the hook on radar. I see the hook echo. I see this," and then you see this part um, with the supercell. And thank you, brother Shane. Thank you so much. Thank you, Libby, as well. Thank you so much too. But to get to because we all come from looking at storm chasing, or we watch storm chasing, and we're very inspired by it, or we're very enthused by it. So you'll hear the term hook slice. So hook slice is, so if I show you on this radar right here, so hook slice is so if you look at this right here, the hook slice. So if you're looking at Blanchard right here, if there was a storm chaser right here in Blanchard, for him or her to get to see that tornado, instead of them driving and ramping all the way around here to Dibble and everything else, what they're going to do is, well, what most of them will do is they'll call what's called a hook slice, and they're going to come in and they're going to cut right through this. Very dangerous. Very, very dangerous. So, because when you cut through this, and, well, for one, if the tornado is rain wrapped, you're just driving in to what's known as the bear's cage. The bear is a tornado, the cage is the rain around it. So when you drive, if you get into this and you get into the bear's cage, you are in deep trouble. So when you get to this, if you hook slice and you come through this, and if let's say it's a perfect tornado, there's no rain, there's very little rain, it's LP, it's a low precipitation storm. So you get through that, you come out of it, you come through the hook slice. Now you're right here. Now you're on the northwest side of where the tornado most likely is, and everything else. So another reason why hook slicing is so dangerous is because what the tornado can do, it's called when it's roping out or whatever, or it will occlude, and sometimes it will occlude up north, due north, or maybe sometimes a little bit back here to the northwest, into its parent, into what's called the parent supercell, which is this, into the parent supercell. So imagine this hook right here. Here's a tornado on the ground doing damage and everything else, and then all of a sudden it just goes due north, or it goes a little bit northwest. So if you're hook slicing and you're coming through it, and you happen to be late to the party, which happens, and you're late to the party, and all of a sudden the tornado is occluding, and it's going due north or it's going northwest, well, it's going to be coming right at you, and there's nothing you're going to be able to do about it. And so that's not the spot you want to be in. So hook slicing, very dangerous. But when you hear that term, and when you watch storm chasers or whatever else, that's what that means. They're coming right through this spot right here, and they're hook slicing through it. Some might maybe call it as well too down here, hook slicing up this way. Like a lot of times it's about in this area, and hooking through or slicing through it there. So very dangerous maneuver. Very dangerous maneuver. Yes, yes, Libby. Not the place you want to be. Absolutely not. Not the place you want to be. I highly recommend looking at stories about people being in the bear's cage or being around and surrounded by it, and it's not a good sight. It's not pretty. Uh, because once you're in it, it's hard to get out of it. So that's that. So and then yeah, so yeah, I just want to talk a little bit about the hook slicing, core punching, just terms that you'll hear a lot in storm chasing. With that RFD, um, that's another one. Let me see if I missed anything here. Shane says, "What causes the outer bands on hurricanes to become so strong?" So the outer bands, so to my knowledge, this is I'm definitely not an expert on tornadoes, but I'm a tornado guru over a. So I will answer this the best that I know through meteorology and through the data that I know. Um, so when the hurricane is coming on shore, right? It's got the outer bands, and the outer bands are hitting the atmosphere. It's hitting the different type of atmosphere. So it's used to being out over the water, right? So then when it comes over to land, it's interacting with a different atmosphere. So what it's doing is it's being pumped up and it's being driven by the current atmosphere that's on land here. So when it hits that, and you got the sun, you got the heating of the day, you got all that. So that's where you find a lot of the tornadoes at, because that's where it's most volatile at, because it's, again, it's used to being out over in the water, and now it's coming over to the land. And so it's almost like that whole, hopefully I'm going to explain this correctly. It's almost like for tornadoes, like we know about in the middle of the country, where it's cold meeting warm air, right, and things of that nature. So that's about the best that I know, that I've learned about it, and everything else. But there's probably a lot more that goes into that. But as far as I know, it's because of the different type of atmosphere that's getting into, and that's where you'll see usually some smaller tornadoes happen, F2s, F1s. There's never been any F5s come out of hurricanes. I don't even know if there's even ever been any F4s come out of hurricanes. But still, as we know, F2s, F3s, F1, they're just as deadly as anything else. So got to take it very seriously. So hopefully, uh, that's just being transparent with that. So hopefully, to answer a little bit of that. Um, but yeah, again, a lot of tornadoes, and that's why if you look at the numbers, like the tornado numbers every year NWS comes out with how many tornadoes each state has every year and everything like that. And if you look, Florida will be like really high up there, and then you'll go, "What? Why is Florida so high up there? That's weird." And then you have to go, "Oh yeah," because sometimes they'll get like 2 or 3 hurricanes or something else, and all of a sudden they'll get those hurricanes, and there might be 40 or 50 tornadoes that spin out of those hurricanes. Well, now their numbers are inflated from that. So they're not really a tornado hotspot outside of, I mean, yes, thunderstorms happen there. Yes, they do get tornadoes as well, but their numbers get inflated from the hurricanes that come on shore there. And just as with like the southern Alabama as well, and southern Mississippi, Texas as well, and that stuff. So, but yeah, so that's what inflates those numbers as well. And then, so if we go back to this classic supercell here, right? So this is classic supercell. It's spinning, it's rotating, it's got everything going on here. But again, we're looking at reflectivity, which is this. We don't know 100% that the tornado was down just based off reflectivity. So then we'd have to go over to, so I'm going to pull up the TVS, which is how we would read the TVS, the tornado vortex signature on on velocity. So let me pull that up for you here real quick, and then go back to it here. So let me pull that here up here. And this is also gate-to-gate shear, as some call it as well. Velocity coupled is what a lot of other like it likes to be called as well. So I'm actually going to pull it up. This is actually a good one here. So let me pull this up here real quick. Let me pull up this file here. Then we got the couplet in there. Okay, so pull up this file. Sorry about that. Give me 1 second here. Where'd it go at? There it is, yeah. Hop out. Hop out. There it goes. Okay. Oh. Oh, sorry. There we go. All right. Come on. Apologize. See, the one that I had does not want to pull up. So give me 1 second and let me know thumbs up if you're enjoying still and whatnot. But I will just give me 1 second here real quick. So. Okay, I think we're back in action now. I think I can figure it out now. There we go there. Okay, there we go. There we go. Let me pull this out. There it is. All right. Awesome. Sorry about that. That was okay, good. So this is a good show and tell picture here. So left side picture here. See this circle, see this black circle here, so if you see this black circle right here. Okay, so remember as I mentioned, green, it's coming towards us. It's coming towards the radar site. This red is going away. So green towards, red is going away. So once we see this and we get this little spot right here, see how we got the hook echo over here on reflectivity? And then we got this right here. So inside of this spot right here, we're going to look at what's the gate-to-gate shear. So again, there's a negative and there's a positive, but when you add them up, it's just a positive number. So let's say the winds coming towards the radar are 70 miles an hour. Let's say the winds going away from the radar are 90 miles an hour. That's 160 gate-to-gate wind shear. So you can pretty much bet that that's a tornado down on the ground, right there with this tornado vortex signature. So this is what you're looking at right here. So, so this is so when you look at the TVS, so that's what they're gonna. This is what they're gonna be looking at. Is oh, hi Rachel. Everybody say hi to Rachel, please. Rachel is I'm sure. I think many of you know who Rachel is. She's from Brother John's, a moderator for Brother John's streams. So please say hi to Rachel, please. So get to the TVS here. So you're looking at this spot right in here, this black circle. You're looking at where the greens and the red meet and where they're coming in at right here as in a circular motion. So you're looking at right here. You're looking at the gate to gate. So that is right there is going to tell you the wind speed of what's going towards the radar, what's going away from the radar. And when you see this couplet right here, then you pretty much know that's where the tornado is located at. And as you see, the couplet matches up with the reflectivity. So it matches up perfectly with the reflectivity. So that's reflect. So when people say reflectivity, this is what they're looking at right here. This is it gets a little bit deeper as well, but on just on a high level, you're looking at this, looking for this couplet. You're looking for how the winds are swirling, how they're coming towards the radar site, and how they're going away from the radar site. and where they meet at right here, you call that a couplet, you call that gate-to-gate shear, and then you do the math on that, and then you can figure out, okay, right in this spot, this is where the winds are very, very strong at. So, yeah, so that's that. So with the velocity, showing that, because I know a lot of times, like if you watch Max, right, Max Velocity, great segue. If you watch Max, which I recommend you watch Max, I recommend you watch whoever you like to watch, and whoever you get the most, whoever you feel the most comfortable with watching, whether it's Ryan Hall, Max Velocity, whomever, watch them and learn. But they'll switch over to Velocity a lot, and they'll be looking for this right in this section here. And they'll be looking for this to see where the greens and the reds are meeting up in a circular motion. And they'll be looking for this. And then you'll look for, sometimes you get this little brownish, tannish color as well. And that's where your couplet, that's where that's coming through at. So, so again, Max Velocity is always going to be looking at that. Ryan Hall is always going to be looking at that. Your local weather individual is always going to be looking at that as well. But that's how you determine, again, the radar, the wind's coming at you and the wind's going away from you, and so that's a good thing. So, and again, then you match it up with reflectivity, and you circle it again and go, okay, yep, that's the couplet. That's where the tornado is at right now. So that's going to confirm the tornado, and that's what the NWS uses to confirm tornadoes is velocity, as well. So that's a big thing. Any questions about velocity? Any question about how to read it, how to decipher it, anything like that? So just please ask, please, because I'm here to teach. I'm here to to impart my knowledge. I'm here to learn myself as well. But I love doing this. I love teaching. I love giving out my knowledge and talking about this stuff, because some of this stuff is, like I said, some people only look at reflectivity. Some people get the apps to look at velocity and look at correlation coefficient and look at CAPE and look at wind shear and look at, vapor and look at echo tops and look at all the other fun stuff. So, but the main three tools for tornadoes, for radar tornado, right? You got reflectivity, it's your base reflectivity, got velocity, and you got correlation coefficient. And there's also things that are called hodographs, and that would be a whole nother stream to get into that. But those are your main three: base reflectivity, velocity, correlation coefficient. Those are the main three terms that you're going to hear Brother John talk about. You're gonna hear all the streamers, majority all the streamers talk about those three things, and because those are the tools that we have at our dispense to use. So that's velocity, pretty much just in the overview, high 60,000 foot view. That's what velocity is. So that's what keeps. So that's and you can see this on, like I said, on especially the paid weather apps. I don't know if it's given out freely on, but I definitely know for free. So, and then, but again, so velocity off here to the right, that's showing you rain, hail, everything else. And then you got reflectivity off to the right here, and then velocity here off to the left here, and that's what's going to. And when you marry them up together, you can go, oh, yep, that's a tornado. So, and you don't even have to visually see it. So like a lot of times when they're rain wrapped, they're at nighttime. They're obscured by buildings, they're obscured by whatever. This is where velocity. And so this is where it comes marrying velocity and marrying reflectivity up together. And if they're big ones and doing damage to everything else, then you really should be marrying all three of them up together. You should be marrying reflectivity with velocity with correlation coefficient. So Any questions on velocity? Just how the greens are coming towards. So if you look how this green is kind of coming down to the, we'll call this a southwest here, right? And if you look, it's being wrapped around by this to the right here by the reds that are going, we'll call that northeast, right? So we got one going southwest and one going northeast. One in one direction, one in the other direction, and they're spinning. So that's how you can visually see that. That the greens are coming towards you and the reds are going away from you. And this is a very just what do I want to call it? Iconic type of TVS. So it's this one makes it very easy to read here. So, but yeah, any questions on that before I jump into correlation coefficient? And that's going to be the third thing that we would marry up to help with aid in tornado reading the radar off of that. So please let me know real quick, and I will load up. Can hail size be determined before it falls? Before it falls, yes, because you can look at what you want to see. So we can look at the DBZ, right? So I can actually I can get into that as well. So DBZ, it's decibels by rate by reflectivity, but they just, instead of saying reflectivity, they say Z. They replace reflectivity with Z. So it's decibels by Z. So decibels, like we know with hearing and everything else, right? The higher the decibels get, the louder the sound gets. So hail, the higher the DBZ is in the storm, the bigger the hail is, or the bigger the raindrops are. And that scale goes from 0 to 75. So what you do is, so you can hover over, and I could pull it up. I could pull up weather-wise. I could pull something to show you real quick. But if there's, let's just say this reflectivity storm right here, right? So let's say I'm hovering over this spot right here. This is about where the main hail and stuff would be, right in this section right here. So if I was hovering right here and the software I'm using can tell me the DBZ, and it goes, oh, this is DBZ's at 60 or 57 or 62 or whatever it may be, 65, then you know this is probably producing probably like 2 to 3 inch, I would probably say, hail. So you can, it's always going to be a guesstimate, but you can say just by the DBZ, it's probably going to, the higher the DBZ, the bigger the hail is going to be. So if that makes sense in some sort of way, explaining that. So, but that's usually when you see those as dark purple, black, whatever, and you get into that, and they get up into 60 range, that's extreme hail. Like, so we're talking, 3 inches, 4 inches possibly, grapefruits falling on your head, things of that nature. So yes, so to answer that question, yes, you can determine it, not like fully, but I mean, in a pretty close parameter, you can determine that hail off of that DBZ size, that comes along with that. And then, unfortunately, as we know, hail, we got baseballs falling down, you got softballs falling down, sometimes grapefruits falling down. We know what kind of damage that does to, unfortunately, to cars and, in houses and livestock and everything else. So, because cows need love too, right? So she gets some W's for cows in the chat going. So, because unfortunately, there seems to be a lot of videos of poor cows flying around in tornadoes and storms and everything else. So, but besides that, it's but yes, great question, Shane. Very great question. Very great question, and all that. So, but yeah, hail, and obviously hail is, so when you see the hail, and a lot of times and I don't. And this is like an old wives' tale, right? A lot of times, I grew up when I saw, I was taught if I saw a green sky, oh crap, that means a tornado was like right there in that green sky. But what you're actually seeing is a refraction of the hail falling. So you're seeing that refraction from the sunlight. So that's why we see green skies for. And a lot of times you'll see a lot of people be like, "Oh, the sky turned green, it turned menacing, it turned all that." And that's because of this forward flank that's got all the hail in it. Yes, great job, Rachel. Hail core refraction, correct? Yep. So all this hail on this forward flank moving forward, it's from the refraction of the from the sunlight. It turns a green and a greenish hue to it. So now a lot of times, do tornadoes happen? Yes, they do with a green sky, but not always. And so you can't. So if you see a green sky, yes, there's hail in there. So you should obviously uh, have have a plan and everything else prepared. But just know that just because if you see a green sky, it does not mean that a tornado is there or it's already on the ground or whatever else it may be. But definitely know that hail is there, and if you see the shaft and the shaft keeps moving, so if you're doing a visual cue of it, right? So if you see the shaft and it's coming down and it's not moving left and it's not moving right, and then you can know that shaft is coming right at you. That hail core shaft is coming at you. Same way to read a tornado. So if you ever go out and if you were ever to look out at a tornado, and you use your nose so you're going to use your nose, right, as what's called a demarcation line. So if you use your nose, you're looking at it, use your nose. Obviously you're using your eyeballs, and you see it, and it's not moving to the left of your nose or it's not moving to the right of your nose. It's coming directly at your nose. That means it's coming directly at you. If it's getting bigger, if the storm is getting bigger. Now, if you're looking at it and it's not moving left to right from your nose either, but it's getting smaller, that means it's moving away from you. And then if you're looking at it right, and if it moves off to your left, that means it's moving away from you to your left. And if you look at it, it's moving off away from you to your right. So the demarcation line, the marker is your nose, and from there, that's how you pinpoint where it's going. So maybe that. Hopefully, you don't ever have to use that. Like if there's a tornado ever coming at you, but just good to know that that's how you know if it's coming at you or not, if you can see it. So, but yeah, for that, so there's no more questions on velocity. I'm gonna pull up. I am going to pull up real quick here. This time it will be faster. I'm going to pull up correlation coefficient, and that is going to see how we see TDSs, which are debris balls, commonly known as debris balls. So, very useful. Unfortunately, though, that means that something is happening that's unfortunate. So, that is never a good thing, never a good sign. And let me pull up the page that I had here. Where did it go at here? So I'm trying to, where's the one that I had that was pulled out? So once you get to the TDS here, pull this out here. So let me pull, this might be a good one here. So here it is, yep. All right, got that. Let me pop it out here. Bring it on over. All right, there we go. Do I need to blow it up a little bit? Let me blow it up a little bit. Up, back it up. All right, there we go. So hopefully you guys are still with me here. Looks like I got 25 people in here at 12:15 at night. That is pretty cool. I'm blessed. I'm blessed that you guys are spending your Saturday night into your Sunday morning with a fellow like me. So I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Yes, Rachel says CC. So you'll hear Storm Chaser say, for short, CC, and then you'll hear what's called a CC drop. So what they mean by that is, so if we look at the, once I pull it up here, let's see, where are we at here? Let's go to, where we at? So let's go to, there we go. All right. So if we go to the left side here, so we're looking at right here, we're looking at the reflectivity. So we see there's a tornado that's down right here. So this is, and then, well, what we think is a tornado down. But how, for the reflectivity, but if we go over, we can go right here. See this blue? See where how it marries up with this, and we see this is kicking up. So what's that scene is, even though it's a low coefficient one, there's probably a better one out there I can show you, but even though it's a little bit of a lower one, but it was still the same, the song remains the same. So right here, we have the hook echo, we have the tornado, and it's picking up all this debris here. And that debris, that debris drop, it's going to show up blue. It's because all the other stuff around it here it's all correlation coefficient. So what it means is the radar is looking at everything in the air, and when rain matches, it doesn't change. You know, everything matches. It shows up the same color and everything else. But when it goes, oh hey, now you know, for some reason we just scanned a roof in the air, whatever else, it's going to drop that correlation coefficient, and it's going to show up blue, and it's going to be wrapped around right here. So, and also you can also get a little bit darker colors too as well. Blue usually, sometimes I think you might be able to see some black in there as well. But the main thing is when you see something like that along with this, that's when you're going to get that tornado debris signature. So that means it's lofting it so high up in the air that the radar goes, well, what the heck is that? And then it picks it up and goes, whoa, that's not the same as rain. That's not the same as hail. That's not the same. So then we look at that and go, okay, so now we got, so then when we marry that with the reflectivity, marry that with velocity, and marry that up, then you definitely know that you have a strong, definitely has a strong tornado on the ground, definitely. And as Rachel was saying, thank you, Rachel, for pointing that out. Very great. Solid matter reads differently on radar, which is absolutely true, and that's why it comes back and it drops and it comes back in a different color. So that's so once you marry those three up and you look at those, you have the correlation coefficient, you have the velocity, and you have the reflectivity. Those are your three marrying radars in order to see or not to see, but to just by using data and using technology, that's how you can confirm if a tornado is there or not. And that's what the NWS is utilizing as well, all these tools, but also, like I mentioned before, they have way more advanced stuff than what the public is allowed to get their hands on. So so that's why I give all those guys the credit at NWS, because they have way better tools than what you and I can have, and it's easy for us to play Monday morning quarterback and go, oh, well, those guys messed up on, the tornado watch. They messed up the tornado warnings. There's nothing here. Why did they put this out for this, put out for that? It's because they got way better technology and way better software and everything else that they're using, and so I'm thankful for that. So I give them all the grace, and I give them I'm very thankful for what they do. But yeah, so marrying those three up, keeping those. So a lot of times you'll see, if you're watching Storm Chasers, sometimes if they show their screen, what they're doing, a lot of times you'll see their screen will be on velocity, and it'll also be on correlation coefficient. So they'll switch back and forth between that a lot, especially if they have the tornado in sight, for sure. And then they'll be switching back and forth, and then they'll also be looking at, especially if the tornado is super strong, you're going to be getting a debris ball, and that's just a bad sign, very bad sign. So keep that in mind. So when you learn how to read, if you look at the correlation coefficient, again, key terms, CC drop. That's what you'll hear a lot of storm chasers say. CC drop. We got a CC drop going on. Well, okay, that means that something might be going, that might be a tornado down then or something. So, but yeah, again, so reflectivity, velocity, and correlation coefficient driving that. So those are the main big three things about radar that is used for severe weather, for tornadoes, things of that nature. So those are what interests me the most. And then obviously there's if you guys have heard of CAPE before, certain CAPE values, anything above usually 1,000 kilograms of joules per kilogram is good storm fuel. So so there's CAPE. How CAPE gets measured on the radar. Satellite. A lot of satellite imagery helps too. So especially like in the early stages of storms. So if you go back and look at satellite imagery, you can see how they just explode and in which way that they're moving and how the vapor that's in the air and things of that nature. So a lot of other things that another radar too that a lot of storm chasers will use too is satellite imagery as well. Not as often, but they will use that as well. But these are the main three that the storm chasers or meteorologists will use. And so you got that, and then like I said, mentioned about satellite imagery. That's one, and then there's also echotops. I'm sure that's probably a fancy term you guys have probably heard. Thumbs up if you've heard echotops before, or ever looked at echotops before. And so echotops is it's as high up as that we can see in a storm, the precipitation in a storm. So people go, "Oh, I got echotops at 50,000, echotops at 60,000." Well, that means you got a very tall storm with precipitation way high up in it. So it's probably a big thunderstorm capable of some damage, possibly a supercell, things of that nature. So that's so echotops. That's another key thing that you might hear on or I've probably heard on storm chasing streams as well. So but as you see, there's a lot that goes into understanding, because I know, like, if you watch Brother John, you watch Brother Freddie. These guys are really good with radar. They're good at they're great at reading it, deciphering it, understanding the different types of radars and things of that nature, and utilizing that. So those, and a lot of times you'll hear them use the same verbiage and the same type of talk about CC drops and echotops and looking at that and everything else. And so that's good that's good. So those three, like I said, those three are the best that I use myself. I use radar, or I'm sorry, I use satellite imagery sometimes, but not as much as I use these three type of tools to get to understand what's going on. Like I said, satellite is good to go back and look where you can see them just blossom up on the satellite and everything else that goes with that. So echotops, again, that's a good thing to look at too as well. It's not always you can get echotops at 50, 60K and nothing ever comes from it. So it's sometimes it's like, yeah, okay, we might get something, but again, it's never a 100% type of thing that comes with echotops. So yeah, so echotops is a keyword, is a key piece of radar that you might see storm chasers use or talk about. Like I said, satellite, velocity, reflectivity, correlation coefficient. So that, and then you also might hear what they talk about is the HRR, or what's called the HRRR. The HRRR is looking future. HRRR is looking through all the algorithms and through all the, like I said, mathematics and physics and all the other stuff. It's taking what it knows and the conditions and everything else. So it's predicting the future. And so a lot of that's usually utilized within, let's say, like the next 18, 24 hours out. I'm sorry, the next like about 24 to 36 hours out. I think really within inside of 24 hours for sure. HRRR. So that helps kind of see where it's going to set up at. So if the ARRR shows storms blossoming, along the warm front, let's say smack dab in the middle, let's just use Norman, Oklahoma as a pinpoint, at 3 p.m. Well, that doesn't mean they're actually going to form right there at all over Norman, Oklahoma at 3 p.m. It might be off to the west, by 100 miles or so. It might be off to the east by something, or they may not even ever form. So, but that ARRR is going to give you a good guesstimate, though, where that's going to line up at. And then another one that Brother John was talking about today, too, is he was talking about Rufus earlier today. So that was funny. But yeah, it's called NAM, or the North American model, which is a futuristic looking out model. So a lot of those models are used and utilized to determine future forecast and future severe weather and things of that nature. So along with that, so again, you'll probably you have probably heard or probably do hear ARRR and NAM. Sometimes you'll hear RAP or RAP. Some people utilize it too as well, and that's also like the NAM as well. So there's a lot of different tools out there, but a lot of people tend to go after the ARRR and the NAM the most. And excuse me. And so a lot of tools, right? There's a lot of tools at our disposal for seeing that. So again, this is where a lot of how the NWS does a lot of their outlooks. They're looking at parameters. They're looking at futuristic models. They're looking at all the tools and resources that are available to them, and then they break it down very scientifically on their web page and stuff like that and everything. So you don't have to be a degree meteorologist to understand the concept of radar, of weather, and what's going on. If you want to get to the more scientific and the more atmospheric and everything like that, then of course. But and that's why Ryan Hall he's not a degree meteorologist, and he does phenomenal job, right? Of course Max is, and Max does a phenomenal job as well. But you don't have to be a meteorologist to understand radar. You don't have to be a meteorologist to understand tornadoes, to understand how and when and things happen like that. You just have to have a passion for it. You just have to understand the basics of it, and then keep learning from there, and keep ask questions, and then but yeah. So if you get the basics of it, you can get the deep scientific hold on it. All you need is the basics, and that's what this is. This is what my overview is. It's the basics. It's 101, and this is what helps drive further learning. To that. So so to me, again, if the tools are here, if you love them, utilize them. Some people do. Some people utilize all three. Some just watch people utilize them, which is, hey, that's cool too. Whatever you want to do, but just to help understand how to read the radar and how the radar how we utilize that tool. But again, it's not a 100% foolproof tool, right? So number one thing to always use is your common sense, and use all your senses, right? So because every year there's a lot of storms that go without a tornado warning. They go without a severe thunderstorm warning, because it's not the NWS's fault. It's the fault of the technology that they have. They can only utilize what they have, and that's the technology that's before them. So don't count on somebody else to save your life. Count on yourself to save your life. And so, because I've talked to a lot of people, and they're like, well, we didn't have a tornado warning. We didn't have this. This never came out. And it's like, okay, but listen to your senses. Listen to what's going on around you. You're utilizing all that, and you can see, and you can, let's be smart about it. Let's not just see a tornado down on the ground and go, well, we don't have a tornado warning. Well, I don't think you need a tornado warning at that point, because you already know what's happening. So you have to just be smart about it. and understand that the NWS is going to be wrong, and that's no fault of their own. That is to the fault of the technology that's available. And so, just like if I was at the NWS SBC, I'd be wrong all the time. If any one of you were there at the SBC working, you would be wrong all the time. So it's and that's no anything against you guys or anything or against myself. It's just we can only utilize the technology that we have, and so don't rely on the NWS to save your life. From that, you rely on yourself to do that, and to help yourself and to advocate for yourself through that. And I'm not saying that you have to be again a radar expert or anything like that, but if you start to see a hook echo coming down, if you start to see a hook echo on reflectivity, that's when I would jump over to velocity. Start looking at velocity and start looking at correlation coefficient, and because they're going to wrap up. I mean, this is what the tornadoes are going to wrap up on the southwest side, 99% of the time. If they're headed off in that northeast direction or the south or the southeast direction. Very rarely will you ever get you'll get a circular storm, you'll get a cyclone that comes in, and instead of this going northeast or southeast or south or whatever else, it'll actually head off to the west. It'll be headed northwest. So when you get on northwest, then you'll get them on. You can either get them up in you'll get them in a different region of the storm. So, but that's very far in between. So, 99% of the time they're coming from the southwest side of the storm here, especially if they're 100% of the time if they're headed off in the northeast direction, southeast direction, they're going to form on this southwest side of the storm there. So that's where your focus should be at if you're looking at the radar there. So thumbs up if you're still with me. Thumbs up if you're having fun. Thumbs up if you're enjoying. Thumbs up if I'm explaining it too fast or if I'm explaining it too slow. If I'm explaining it correctly at all. I need feedback. That's how I get better. That's how we all get better. I have thick skin, so I definitely enjoy feedback. That's how I get, like I said, that's how I get better. You're not going to hurt my feelings or anything like that. Because I want to grow, and obviously as I grow, I can teach, a larger audience and things of that nature. So it's just very, I love what I do. I'm very passionate about what I do, but obviously I'm flawed. I mean, I'm a sinner. I make mistakes. So, but hopefully, I can be a trusted source and to be a guide, along that way and help out the best way that I can. Because like I said, before, I've been really studying severe weather for, over 25 years. I've been longer. I've been passionate about it and everything else. So it's just such a blessing, such an opportunity, to help you guys out and to help out the community, the storm community. Because there's a lot of smart individuals out there. There's a lot of smart individuals out there. Brother John, Freddie, Eli, who's with Freddie, Mike DeLange, who's with John sometimes. Just a lot of Tanner Charles. I'm seeing a lot of rattling people off my head, and so it's just a lot of great, smart individuals that are out there, And then it's I learned from a lot of people. I learned a lot on my own. I've taught myself a lot of this stuff, but I've also learned from the great, a lot of people that I've learned from, people online, people, classes, things of that nature. So I'm very honored to help and hopefully, maybe teach a little bit of something and retain that. So looks like we got Lisa T in here. Everybody say hi to Lisa. Thank you, Lisa, for joining. Definitely appreciate that. Very, very thankful for that. Thank you so much, Lisa. And so it's just a very Give me 1 second. Yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm. So that was my um says, oh, hi Shane. And then Lisa says, hi Shane, hi John Boy, glad Seven didn't forget about this life, you know. Oh yeah, definitely. Then that was my so I gotta tell everybody I'm John Boy Senior, and that was my son John Boy Junior. So he is my rock star. So he's awesome. But he's 9 years old, and he's very inquisitive and very just awesome. So um, what a rock star that kid is. So but yeah. So to get back onto that, any questions? Just about maybe to about any type of radar, any type of uh, maybe anomalies you've seen on radar that maybe you've had questions about, maybe anything like that, because I want you to be I want you to walk away from this at least being fulfilled with some type of knowledge, some type of learning from it. So I mean, thankfully there's still 24 of you in here, which is amazing at 12:37 in the morning my time. So I mean, 24 viewer is 24 more than what I thought I would ever get. So I'm very thankful for that. Um, it's a very great learning thing. I think, and um, do I know? Okay, Lisa asked, "Do you know anything about Canadian radar?" Well, I'm going to, if I don't want to sound, I would assume that the radar would read the same, but can you explain like exactly like because in Canada they issue like we issue like like moderate risk and high risk and things of that nature. But I would assume that the radar would still reflectivity and stuff would still read the same, because it's still um, it's just what the radar does. So hopefully that's I can answer that from that. But as far as like where the weather sites are at and things of that nature, I don't know where like weather sites are at. Um, Anything duration? Are you working on anything duratio related? That would be a great live stream. No, but I can be because actually coming up in July, coming up in here. So July and August are like prime months for deratios, and which kind of stinks about deratios is, I mean, well, they stink no matter what. And please, Lisa T, let me know. Sorry about that. Please, Lisa T, let me know how I can follow up on your question if I didn't answer that in the answer that you were kind of hoping for there. But yes, Duratio. That actually might be my next stream, because that those things are, oh man, those things are wild. So, but yes, but to get into that, July and August are prime months for deratios, and I can get to scientifically. I can keep it at a high level, or I can get deep into it. It doesn't matter. Um, and then yes, Rachel is she's on it. Hot and popping late summer patterns matter. Yes, absolutely. So if you notice, they really like a lot of times the hotter it gets, it'll be in the 90s, and the next thing you know, storms will fire up, and the next thing you know, you got a derecho bearing down on you. And I can get into that, and I'll get into that. So I'm sorry, guys. Lisa says we have a bit of a controversy about government cuts to the radar research team for the upgraded research. Figured a friendly American would be the best and most objective person to ask. Oh, we have a. Let me read that one more time, Lisa. We have a bit of a controversy about government cuts to the radar research team for the upgraded research. Figured a friendly American would be the best and the most objective person to ask. Well, I would say that if Canada is cutting, if they're having government cuts to the radar research team, um, upgraded radar. Sorry, okay, upgraded radar. I would say that's you're actually putting lives in danger if you're not putting in the time and effort or the money in order to upgrade your systems or make your systems better or continuously improve. So, um, I would say objectively, from being from the outside, I personally would not cut um, from that. So I personally would not take away from that. I think that radar sites are our best friends, uh, even if we don't know they're there, right? Even if we don't know how they function, they are our best friends, and we need them. And people, a lot of people don't understand is that that's if we don't have radar sites, we don't have radar, right? So got to have radar to see. Got to have radar to see what's coming at you. Got to have radar to see. So if you make cuts to that, I would assume hopefully they would have a contingency plan. Hopefully they would have some sort of redundancy plan that says, maybe we can help through that, or we can get through that without giving more money the way that it is. But um, so hopefully, Lisa, objectively speaking, if I was that, I would not make any cuts to any type of and that's just not my passion talking. That's just me talking as I understand how important radar research is. I understand how important upgrading radar is. I understand how important expanding radar is because I understand how important radar is to not just myself, but to the greater whole, right? So remember, the radar just doesn't affect me. It just doesn't affect you. The radar affects everybody. Um, so yeah, so it's so hopefully Lisa, hopefully that answered your question there. But yes, I personally would not cut any type of research to radar or upgrading the radar from that. So, but thank you. That's a great insight there and everything. But to talk about the ratios again, to get back on that topic real quick, we actually had a deratio. It actually got confirmed and labeled. Um, we actually got confirmed. It actually got confirmed. Was it two? It was like 2 or 3 weeks ago. Was when I was posting on my community page about how it came through Chicago and we lost power for like 37 hours. It did damage like all over the place, up and down different cities and different villages. They're called villages here around Chicago. But yeah, I think that's going to be my next. I think that's good. That's a great topic. So I would love to talk about that. Yeah, I think that's going to be my next live stream. Is to talk about the ratios and how they form. I can get into why they form, and what actually makes a deratio, like how far it has to travel, how fast the wind speeds have to be, the time duration it has to be, because it has to all meet a certain it has to meet a certain criteria in order for it to be labeled a deratio. So, but what it is, a huge MCS event. That's what it is. So that's what a deratio is. But then once it hits that certain timeline, wind speed, and length, then that's when it becomes. So yes, one of mine too. Rachel says one of my favorite weather phenomena. I agree because and they happen a lot, and sometimes a lot of times you hear though about them in the news because of the damage they do, obviously. But obviously, the one that hit and affected Iowa in 2020, that is one that stands. That is one that stands out because of the sheer strength of that. That was a more powerful derecho than what's. I don't know if it's ever been recorded, but it's been recorded definitely in recent history for sure. Um, Man, we're talking upwards like 100. I think there's wind gusts upward like 120 miles an hour. I mean, you're talking you know low wind tornado there, but not just that's straight line wind coming at you. That's not swirling wind coming at you. That's straight line wind coming at you, and And then but yeah, so and they actually have labeled that a land hurricane. So that is very wild. To just I have watched a lot of videos on that, and and it's just if you ever watched videos on that August 2020 from Iowa, which Lisa uh, can talk about. Because I believe that she was in it. Lisa, who's from Iowa, I believe. She said she had some roof damage and she had some, I can't remember other damage she said. But if you look at the videos, if you look at the crops were just wiped out, just completely wiped. So, um, and then, yes, I couldn't, I'm sorry. Thank you, Rachel. I couldn't think of her last name. Yes. Lisa Peterson. Yes. Thank you. And Shane says, I have some vids saved from that storm. Yes, that was just wicked. I mean, to just afterward, to just see this shelf cloud coming at you. And that's one thing. If you ever see a shelf cloud, and I can put up a picture of a shelf cloud, but maybe you guys already know what a shelf cloud looks like. But if you ever see a shelf cloud coming at you, you know that that is some fast, strong wind. And please do not ever drive straight into if you see a shelf cloud coming at you, because you're going to get smacked with some violent wind, some violent rain, possibly hail, everything else. But if you drive straight into that, you're going to get smacked, and you're not going to like it. So I would definitely, if you see a shelf cloud coming at you, definitely take shelter or get the heck away from it. Get out of its way somehow if you can. Um, but please don't ever drive into that. One thing, just like please don't ever park underneath an overpass, right? So I think we all have seen that and everything else. So, um, and then it looks like Lisa T is saying Lisa T is talking about I believe a tornado that happened in Alberta. Oh, okay, up there in Alberta, Canada. Okay, Edmonton area. Okay. Um, and then yes, great job, Debbie. Excellent. Yes, head back into your home and take shelter. Absolutely. Because um, you definitely. I mean, how many of you, and if you can, how many of you have been out when it's let's just say wind at 40 miles an hour or wind at 50 miles an hour, and you're outside, right? That is very windy, even at 40 and 50 miles an hour. So imagine you got 80, 70, 75, 80, 90 miles an hour um, coming straight at you. But it's not coming just, you know, like a little bitty piece of, it's coming, it's 100 miles long, right? I mean, and it is coming directly at there. So, yes, just like Debbie said, please, yeah, please take shelter. Um, Please, yeah, don't drive into that. That is you're just asking, especially like if you're like in an SUV or you're in a happen to be driving an 18 wheeler or something like or a semi truck or whatever. You're definitely asking to get flipped over and get into some damage there. So yeah, so shelf cloud is your main giveaway. Your visual cue is a shelf cloud. So, and that thing will roll in quick. You watch that thing and you go, wow, that thing is flying. And it really is flying. So, but that's your visual cue is a shelf cloud. That's coming at you. So it's good to learn, about clouds, understand, there's wall clouds, right? Funnel clouds, obviously, shelf clouds. We were talking about a little bit about last night about Mamadus clouds, which I've never seen personally, you know, um, but they look pretty cool. Um, but anvil clouds are really cool. Um, and they're just really really cool formations out there and stuff. So But yeah, but I've learned as I've studied, weather over the years is once I can see a cloud and I can, I can kind of know what that cloud is going to be. Um, I can kind of know what's going to come from that cloud or what can come from that cloud. So if I see a wall cloud, obviously I know what can come um, from a wall cloud. I know what can come from a shelf cloud. I know what can come from cumulonimbus clouds, and I know what can come from an anvil cloud. So if that's just another good visual, a cue to see that, and you could kind of know the weather that is a part of those clouds. So that's another way to kind of stay weather aware. You don't have to be a cloud expert or anything like that, because I'm definitely not a cloud expert. Um, in that, but that's how I can sometimes how that's if I go out when I look at the sky and look at to gauge the weather and gauge the wind and gauge humidity and dew points and things like that. And if I look off and I see certain clouds, I can kind of get a little good grasp of what might be happening for that day. So Rachel says, yes, top personal wind speed experience was 90 miles an hour, Hurricane Milton. Wow. Fun fact about Hurricane Milton, I actually watched, because I believe Hurricane Milton, that was the one in 2024, if I'm not mistaken, right? Yeah, okay. I actually watched Freddie and Connor Croft live stream together during the Hurricane Milton. So, um, but but correct me if I'm wrong though. But I believe that's the one that came through in like September ish, October ish of 2024. Yep. Yes. Thank you, Rachel. October of 2024. Awesome. Thank you so much. And but yeah, I actually watched their stream together, Freddie and Connor Croft. So um, for that, so that was pretty cool and everything. So watching them. So Lisa T says, "Yikes! I had our fire line tents picked up, and the smallest trees we had it attached to walked it across the field, 120 kilometers per hour. Not sure in miles, but roughly 50 to 60. I unfortunately do not know the conversion either of kilometers to, and I've looked this up many many times, but off the top of my head, I do not know the conversion. And again, but yeah, but that would be uh, good to know what that conversion rate is there for that. But yeah, so I watched that live stream with Freddie and with Connor Croft, and that was pretty cool to watch them hurricane chase down there that night and everything. So, um, but yeah, that was cool with that. And then Libby says, "Hate to leave the fun, but I don't want to fight sleep in church in the morning." Thank you, Libby, for that. God is obviously way more important than what I am, so thank you for that. Have a great night, everyone. John Boy, thanks for the great time of learning. Libby, thank you deeply. Thank you, humbled. Thank you so much for that, for spending your time and taking time out of your day to spend your time with us. Hopefully, you learned a little bit, and hopefully, to see you on the next one. So, thank you so much, Libby. Have a great time in church, and God bless you, Libby. Thank you so much. And okay, so Lisa T says, "Oops, I was wrong. 74 miles per hour." Okay, 74 miles per hour is strong, really strong. So, um, yeah, that's some good win right there for sure. Definitely. So it's yeah, something yeah, yep. Google is our best friend, right? So it's supposed to be. So definitely with that. But so any questions about uh, radar? Any questions about tornadoes, storms, tornado genesis? Any questions about maybe for myself, because we're all getting to know each other and we're all getting to. I know I've just been. I've been watching John for a long time, but I just popped up and started being very vocal. Over the past month and a half or something like that, a little over a month. So, um, but yeah, so anything you want to learn, I mean, I'm an open book. I'm very transparent. I'm very open. If you want to learn about that, myself, I don't hide anything. Just yeah, anything you want to know, anything about that. But Rachel did make a good point and bring up a good point about about duration, and I think that's going to be my next live stream is going to be that to teach on that. And well, yeah, just let me know if you have any other questions here. So I'm going to wrap it up here in 4 minutes here. So I'm going to end this at 1 a.m. My time, and just say thank you guys so much for joining. I know it's late, so. Shane says, goofy question, but I'm curious. Is that the air temperature is warmer in the afternoon? Why we see tornadoes afternoon? Oh, thank you. Goofy question, but I am curious. Is it that the air temperature is warmer in the afternoon more than the morning? Why we see tornadoes afternoon, evening time? Part of it, but not all of it. You're looking at... great question, Shane. You're looking at, because there are tornadoes that happen in the morning, very rarely, but they do. You're looking at, so you're looking at a lot of times the wind shear won't be there in the morning. The cape won't be there in the morning. You just won't have the fuel. You just won't have that in the morning because a lot of storms in the way they work here in the U.S. is a lot of storms. They'll go through. If they do make it through the night, they'll fizzle out in the morning because they'll run out of steam. They'll run out of the area where they came from had the most cape, and then the cape that's off to the east might not be as much fuel. They might run into more stable air. And the temperature a little bit, but you're also looking at more too of more factors that play into that. And usually, what happens is that you get the heating of the day, right? So once you start getting to around noon, 1, 2 o'clock, things of that nature, you're getting to the heating of the day. You're getting into more instability. So the atmosphere has had time to become more unstable. So that's just like. So one thing that helped us here in Chicago is the one thing that helped us here in Chicago when we were under a just last week or something. It was a enhanced risk. I can't remember if it's enhanced or moderate. I know it was enhanced for sure. But one thing that helped us is that we had a bunch of rain throughout the day that came in the morning time, and it stayed throughout a lot of into the afternoon. So what that helped to do was stabilize the atmosphere. So actually, when you get rain in the morning or you get rain throughout the day, that's a good thing for you because the rain is actually going to stabilize the atmosphere. So what happens is if you don't get rain and you just get a bunch of sunshine and the sun is just beating and you get that convection and you're getting it's heating up the ground and the air is rising and everything else. That's usually where the worst types of severe, where the most instability Cape is at, is because it hasn't had any type of rain come through or any type of other convection come through, and that's why you see a lot of places where they go, or you talk to a lot of people and they go, oh, well, the sun's been out all day, and that's actually a bad thing because the sun is it's just priming the atmosphere. And once the cap breaks, which we can get into the cap, another stream, once that cap lifts off, then the storms just fire up and blossom. So thumbs up if that was an okay explanation for that. Appreciate that. So next one we have is wondering what basic info to look for to help protect NATO potential. We don't have Hashi risk maps. Had EF3 last week and 6 total just north of me out of the blue. Yes, and exactly what Rachel said too. Great job, Rachel. Moisture, convection, boundaries, right? Yes, you get outflow boundaries, you get things of that nature as well. So very, very good, Rachel. Thank you so much for that. Let me get back to Lisa T's. Lisa T's here. Wondering what basic info to look for to help predict natal potential. Can you? It's a little bit, Lisa. That might have been what I was talking about earlier before you came in to the chat. Because if we're talking about reflectivity on radar, the main three types of radar. Okay. So I need Lisa T says so. I need to find out where to find boundaries, etc. Okay, so that's going to be on your weather map, and that's going to be. So we can do. I can pull it up for you real quick, Lisa. Here. Let me get into this real quick, and let me pull it up for you. Okay. To show you. So. Show you this real quick here. So. And I'll pop it on. I'll pop it on my screen here in a second. So. Let me see here. Show you how to see boundaries. Okay, here we go. Okay, let me pop it over here to my screen here. Okay. So let's see here. Okay, so there we go. Okay, so I'm actually on Radar Omega app. So this is an app that can show you boundaries and things of that nature. So if you don't have Radar Omega, it's something you can download as well. But this is how there's also probably if I looked at the Canadian what you want to call it, the Canadian radar sites or Canadian weather service, I'd probably be able to find that in there as well. But I utilize this a lot. So this is how to read it. You can look at your low pressure system. It's going to be here where your L is at. You're going to have if there's an H, there'll be a high pressure system. Your dotted lines, that's where your warm fronts are at, and warm fronts are boundaries. South of the warm front is usually where you get a lot of very big storms and storms at. So they'll ride that boundary. Usually to the north, usually not as bad, and usually right at the boundary can also be some pretty good severe weather as well. But yeah, so if you want to look at boundaries like that, you can look at warm fronts, stationary fronts, cold fronts. Cold front is you've probably experienced it. You probably experienced all these fronts, I would assume. But cold front definitely for sure, because when a cold front comes through, it's cold on the backside of it. So as soon as it comes through, all the severe weather will be off to the direction that's going. So it'll be off. Let's say once a cold front comes through Chicago, when it pushes off to the east. Once it gets off to the east, all the severe weather will be off to the east of it, and everything behind it, it'll be a lot colder. So once it comes through, you'll get like a 20-degree drop or a 30-degree drop. But this is how I find it in Radar Omega. But again, I could find it on the NWS website here in the United States. But for Canada, I would have to look at the Canadian site. So, and then so hopefully that's how you can see and decipher boundaries from that. And but at least from Radar Omega, that is. So NWS, like I said, that I could do that, but I'm not familiar with the Canadian Weather Service, or I think it's actually called Canadian Environmental Services, if I'm not mistaken. Please correct me if I'm wrong or not, there, Lisa. Because but I believe that's what it's called. But I could be wrong. So, um, but from that, but thumbs up if you guys enjoy the stream. Thumbs up if you enjoyed spending some time. I don't see any other questions right now. Rachel, thank you so much. Debbie, thank you so much. And again, if if Lisa Peterson, Rachel, Debbie, Sonia, if you guys, eventually, if you wanted to become mods or help me out and be a mod, I would definitely appreciate that. If that's something you guys would be interested in or in doing, I would be very, very honored for that, since you guys also have a lot of a lot of experience in that. And obviously John, if Brother John trusts you guys, then obviously I trust you guys. So and like I tell people, anybody who's a friend of Brother John is a friend of mine. So hopefully one day the 23 concurrent viewers will grow to 230, and then maybe 2,000 or something. You never know. But wherever the good Lord wants us to go, that's where it's going to go at. So but hopefully you guys learned some stuff. Hopefully you learned about things. And again, if you don't have any other questions, I'm just very thankful, very honored, very blessed. All of you enjoy it's your just very thankful. So but it's just very, very thankful. But yeah, just very thankful. Like I said, wherever the good Lord wants this to go at, is because I got some things in the background happening too and everything. So that might affect how often, or even if I continue down this path. So but it's wherever the good Lord wants from me. So and I'm all for that. So whatever doors he's opening, I'm stepping through. Whatever blessings he's handing out to me, I'm accepting. And so I'm just I'm moving along with that. So but yeah, but again, yeah, hopefully continue to grow, continue to help each other out. And again, I'm always open if you have any questions about learning new things or learning things. And I'm always willing to help and give my knowledge that I have, and obviously learn from you guys as well, because I'm a leader, and as a leader we never graduate, and we always keep learning. So but yeah, it's just a great thing, a great experience. So very thankful for each and every one of you. I hope you guys have a great Sunday today, now that it's today Sunday. Have a blessed day, whether if you go to church or whatever it may be. But I would obviously recommend having a personal relationship with the Lord, and all that. And obviously you can learn obviously about Jesus in the Bible, and obviously Jesus can save you and everything else. But if you want to learn more about that, just let me know. But yes, thank you guys so much. Thank you. I'm so honored, so blessed, so happy to have you guys on my team for support. But thank you guys so much for everything. So but with that, it's 1:09 my time, so time for me to go get a little bit of sleep. And thank you very, very much, everybody: Shane, Debbie, Lisa T, Lisa Peterson, Rachel. I'm missing out on a lot of people here. I'm trying to see here. So, but everybody else and whoever else I missed out on, thank you guys so much. But yes, thank you guys so much. So hopefully we'll do this again soon. And thank you guys again so much. And always be brave, and let the Lord guide your way.